Hey, join me on a tour of the new Desert Canyon Habitat. Beautiful garden, dedicated January 7, 2024. As we enter, we can start to see some of the signage. We have here the entrance to the garden, and it describes a little bit about the place. And if you hit that QR code, it takes you to our website that describes the gardens. Continuing on down the path, you'll also notice that this garden is certified by the National Wildlife Foundation as a sacred ground. So that's pretty cool, the certification. So now we can kind of step on in towards the garden, and you'll see we have some choices. We can head to the right or head to the straight ahead, and in fact we can even go to the left. Interestingly, this route to the left wasn't planned, but Hurricane Hilary showed us that there needed to be a route for the water to go through. So this pathway is gratitude to Hurricane Hilary, and we've reinforced it a little bit to keep the water where it belongs. And that actually goes on down all the way towards Rock Creek that we've put down by the labyrinth. So Hurricane Hilary did a beautiful job of landscape design for us. And then you can see we have lots of differing types of things that we have planted. Over here, this cute little guy is someday going to grow up and be a desert ironwood, which is a very important tree for the garden. And each of our species has, again, a identification sign, English and Spanish. QR code goes to Cowscape that gives landscaping information so people can see how would they grow that in their own garden, which is like one of the objectives of this is to get people to plant native species in their own yards. So let's go on down the path that Hilary made. And you can see there's a desert lavender, beautiful, going to have all kinds of honeybees on it. Here's Emery's dye bush, a beautiful native that has little teeny micro purple flowers that are so hard to see you can't even see them in this video. And then look on the ground, look at all the native wildflowers growing up. Most of these are brown eyes. I also see some cryptantha, and there's even a couple of brittlebush starts going. And then another desert lavender. And this is where you can continue to see how the Hilary Creek heads on down to the labyrinth. And at Hilary's suggestion, I think we probably will connect those two. Maybe we'll put a bridge across to make it easy to go between the two. So continuing back into the garden itself, you can see amazing how many of the large plants we were able to keep. We ran bulldozers through here, piled up all of this sand. It was absolutely flat. Brought in now 35 tons of boulders, and we're able to leave these beautiful bushes in place, and they're just thriving. It's indeed quite wonderful. This is brittle bush, and that is one happy bush. We have labeled all of the plants that are in the garden, so every single one, if people are curious, they can find a little sign that will describe them. And then for each species in the garden, there is an interpretive sign. Again, we're trying to encourage people as much as possible to plant natives in their own yard by inspiring them that it's gorgeous and connecting them to information so that they can plant on their own. Here's a desert mallow, more brittle bush, jojoba. Jojoba, you might recall, if you were around in the 60s and 70s, was going to be the magic oil of the future. And so jojoba, I don't know if you'd call them orchards or plantations or whatever, were started. Jojoba is native around here. More brittle bush. Looking over to the other side of the path, here's a beautiful desert mallow When this guy started, he was maybe 6 inches tall. He has at least tripled in size in 6-7 weeks. And look at him bloom. This is one happy fella. We continue on around. As we come around the corner here, you can see some Spanish needles, more encilia, more mallow. If I look down, so this is a retention pond that we're required by code to have for rain runoff. That will be one of our next habitat areas. We're going to turn that into an example of desert dry wash habitat. So things like the desert willows will grow in there, and we're pretty excited about that. And it'll join right off of this path and then circle around in there. Continuing along, we see more plants. Here's some penstemon. There's a smoke tree. There's another Emery's dye bush. We have some buckwheat, which are beautiful and produce wonderful seed pods that are pretty during the summertime. Going this direction is another habitat. This will be our third, which is for creosote scrub. So you can see, if you look real close, little teeny starts of creosote. It's almost as easy to see the little sprinkler emitter as it is the plants. But that area is going to turn into a demonstration habitat of creosote scrub, and we're starting to lay what that'll look like. Expectation is finish that in the fall of 2024. Here we have runoff from the parking lot. Interesting story. This used to just form a ditch. Every time it rained, it would wash the sand away. And then we filled it with rock to keep it. And of course, the rock filled up with sand, and then the water just went around and dug a new ditch. And we finally learned to listen to nature and observe nature. And indeed, the way that it works in the real world is rocks line the sides, and the sand is on the bottom. And then with slow rains, the sand slowly fills in and kind of builds up a little bit. And we put in little teeny riffles, if you will, so that the sand can pile up behind the riffle and then continue on down. In slow rains, it piles up behind the riffles, and then a big rain comes and washes all the sand out. But the rocks keep the creek at a constant depth, at a constant width. So we just imitated nature, and now we've gone through a number of storms, and it works beautifully. Over here we have some more plants, the pink fairy duster. That's going to be absolutely gorgeous, and the honeybees will love it. More encilia. I mean, step back, just isn't this garden gorgeous? It's just amazing and wonderful. This is the art from Gene Kane. A very lovely creosote bush that we were able to, again, keep, even though we're running bulldozers through here. The desert marigolds. They're going to be pretty. Once they get going, they'll be dropping seeds and just fill in this area. Wonderful and magnificent. And then we can come in and sort of circle the art. We're surrounded by plants. And we have, of course, the labyrinth over there. And as always, we have a visitor using the labyrinth, which is, it's available to the public. Just a wonderful, wonderful addition. And then circling around, more marigold, desert agave. This area that's cleared is for a sitting bench. And I'll show you the view. You'll come over here to the bench, sit down, and how's that for a nice spot to relax and enjoy an afternoon? We continue on along the garden. And we're coming back towards the entrance where we started. And enter or exit near the picnic area that is, again, a public spot. Most days at lunch, there's somebody, a work crew, family, folks who have come by who are just enjoying the public availability of the picnic area. Surrounding it are little plants you can hardly see yet, but these are chuparosa, which is the Spanish word for butterfly, hummingbird. And we're going to have a whole row of these, so we should have a whole bunch of hummingbirds coming by, helping you to enjoy your lunch in the picnic area. And of course, this is our peace pole, which is very, very important to us, a fundamental part of what we stand for. And then I'll close again with just a view of the labyrinth.